this time, it sounds
Yes,
like.
absolutely. I know my girlfriend now on all the levels you can really know someone. I've seen her on her bad days or good days. I'm ready to make the proposal, but I can't tell you when or how I'm going to do that.
Yeah, well,
because that would give us away.
I would suggest that if you really want to test her, get her drunk, get her a little, smoke a little bit. Then take her to a tattoo parlor and suggest you get your initials tattooed on the tramp stamp thing in Gothic font. So that when she wakes up the next day, it'll be,
That would be the ultimate test, man. You got any Apocales, do you happen to have any tattoos? Let's talk about tattoos real quick.
I do not have any tattoos nor piercings. One of the few in my age group.
Yeah, it is an exception to your age group. I have two things tattooed on me. One's the American flag, and the other one's my daughter's face. And I thought about those for 10 years before I got them. So,
at what age? Did you do her faces? I mean, obviously you could do her face as a child, as aged forward, or are you going to age the tattoo? Or
well, my initial plan, the tattoo was when she was 2 years old, and the pictures came from that. And I had the tattoo artist look at 4 different pictures and make a composite. But I wanted to do.
That sounds really interesting, actually.
Yeah, I'll put it up there. But it's the thing about it is I was going to get one of her every 5 years as she grew, all the way across my back, and then one of her first baby, and then I was going to stop, no more ink. But I said that's not really me. I've got 2 tattoos, one on each shoulder. My daughter and my country. Things that I'll die loving, and that's just all I need. So I'm not big into ink anymore. I used to think it was really cool, and now I'm like, nobody sees my tattoos anyway, except my girlfriend. So it's not important to me. So how much ink you got out there, Barko?
Oh, no. I mean, I have scars. I mean, and I have good stories to go with the scars. So, but no, I don't think anyone in I have 7 brothers and 6 still living. And I think only my youngest sister might have a small tattoo, but none of it. No, I have no tattoos or piercings or anything like that. So.
Now, is that from a religious thing, or it's just your personal choice not to mark up your body?
Well, we were raised very Catholic. Perhaps that was it. But at the same time, we're also very, very kind of, kind of stupid to get tattoos. We think. I don't know, but unless it's something very significant to you. Like, if you're in the military, if you're in prison, or if you have a child. I think I've seen a lot of girls around Chicago. They get tattoos of their pets, like their pets' paw prints on their tits or something. Like one on. It's kind of sexy, but at the same time, it's like, well, it's your fucking cat you had for 7. I understand, but I don't know. So
that is strange. I didn't know they were doing that. Wow.
Yeah. It's like, get a girl. It's like, hey, what are these? It's like, oh, that was my kitty. That was Fluffy from when I was a child. Okay. Nice. Okay. Real stable.
So we're talking about ex-psychos and tattoos right now. The next reasonable thing for us to go into is either prostitutes or UFOs. So which way should we go here? I personally have no experience with prostitutes, but I thought it would be a fun topic. But I thought
I have some limited experience with them. I can tell my limited experience because it's not really that great. But if you want to, but Apocales, I think is what you call a whoremonger. Is that or no? Wait, no. It's called a hobbyist, right? Apocales.
Yes, I'm a hobbyist. Yes.
Hobbyist. Yes. That's the terminology in this. So go ahead, Apocales. Backpage.com is your homepage when you log into your browser.
Yeah, because I guess Craigslist, they decided, we got too many complaints, so they got rid of all their little prostitute things going on. And they had to use code words for that, so then they just switched to Backpage, which is like a more freedom of speech version of Craigslist. Craigslist, they're serial report spammers. So if there's anything objectionable in anything on Craigslist, it can easily be removed. I think it's like 3 votes, and it'll probably get erased. So, yeah.
Wow.
Everyone's going to basically Craigslist, or I'm sorry, whatever he said, and My Scarlet Book or something like that.
I don't know what that is. So.
I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah,
God, I'm so out of touch.
Escort.
I'm so out of touch. These are what the kids are doing these days. They're going to Backpage.com and Scarlett O'Hara or whatever. So, is prostitution, RD in the chat room, prostitution is part of your culture there. People come there because prostitution is legal. What do you think America ought to do about that? Should we just go ahead and legalize it in every state? I don't even know if he's still in the chat room. I'm just going to make the assumption that he is. I love talking to my European brothers, man.
Kevin, have you ever seen the front line about Cuba? I don't know when it was. They did a front line went down to Cuba maybe 10 or so years ago, and they kind of like said, hey, this is what Cuban culture or Cuban society is like now. And Cuba apparently has one of the highest literacy rates on the planet. Not just bullshit, but really people read a lot of books there because there's no real broadcast or anything. Okay. They drag race on the highways because there's no traffic. And all the women are prostitutes in Cuba, which I was just like wow. Apparently because there's no other economy, but it's just become commonplace. And they're beautiful women. So I don't know. I mean, I could probably find a link to it somewhere, but yeah. So I don't know.
Maybe that's part of the problem, is that in our country, these things we call taboo, I think they confine us.
Like literacy and drag racing and prostitution, right?
Well, I mean, maybe that would set us free if we legalize some of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're more likely to move back towards polygamy than anything else at this point, because we're moving towards a female-dominated electorate. You know, the women have basically elected the last few presidents. Even back, without Barack Obama winning the female vote, so women, he would not probably have gotten elected. So, and I think women actually would have prefer polygamy to serial polygamy, where they have to, but.
Yeah, I think you're right. Serial polygamy is a good way to describe marriage in America right now, too.
Yeah.
Do you think Hillary has a chance? Is she going to win the next election?
I hope not. I kind of hope Elizabeth Warren wins, and I think she might, because, I mean, being here in Chicago, I know some of the people that worked on, and actually worked with them at the last place, that worked on, and the Democrats have such an advantage in the use of big data, in the use of technology, to figure out where to apply your resources, figure out how to get the right message to the right person at the right time, basically.
Yeah.
I think they're a decade ahead of the Republicans. I don't think you'll see a Republican president again until, 16, 20, probably 28 at the earliest. I don't think they have it. They're just, Mitt Romney should have won. If you gave Obama's team Mitt Romney as a candidate, they would have won by 1964 Lyndon Johnson numbers, which is the biggest landslide in U.S. history. Maybe Nixon was bigger, but I don't know. 60% plus would have, but they had to work with the crappy president who had 8% plus unemployment, unpopular wars. He reneged on his promises and all that, and they still won.
Yeah. So you're saying it's mostly a result of his political team that he surrounded himself with that got Obama back in the second time?
Yes, they're political, and they actually had the Eric Schmidt from Google sitting in their, their war room the night of the election. They had all this data, and they would not canvass areas or push people to vote in areas where they weren't going to win. They applied their resources to where they needed to apply them, and they won. And I think President Obama does not like Hillary Clinton, and I think he's going to throw his team. He's going to tell his team who to go work for, and I think it's going to be Elizabeth Warren. So, and I like her. So,
wow. Yeah, I like her too. Actually, the Republicans, I think, have the infighting has cost them, and I think that's going to cost them for a while now. But I can't help but wonder if society is moving. Is society staying in the center, or are they moving right or left right now?
I would think if you polled all Americans, you'd probably find, you'd probably find they're more right-wing than left-wing, I would think, based upon my interaction with white America. But,
yeah, I would agree with that.
But then, do they go out and vote, or do they, actually participate? So, I don't know.
Yeah. What's it like out there in Arizona, Apocales, as far as the political atmosphere?
90% Republican, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very Republican state, so it's probably a little bit different from where you guys are at.
Yeah, you guys had Barry Goldwater back in the day, so.
Yeah, back in the day, but we've still had, we have a lot of scandals, especially with Sheriff Joe Arpaio,
Oh yeah.
I'm sure you guys hear about it in your guys' local papers, but.
Well, I hardly ever pay attention to local news. I always look at national and international, so I couldn't tell you what's going on in Virginia. And I think that comes from because I was skipping around from state to state, so I never paid attention to local news. But I hear his name all the time.
So you were skipping around state to state because you were a fugitive?
No, you would think that, but no.
I assume you have some sort of child support obligation, or no?
Yes, that is correct.
And so you're not paid. I mean, I don't know.
I'll tell you that I've paid an extensively large amount of money so far, and there's still money that I owe.
Yes, I imagine, yes.
Yeah. So I've paid more in child support than I think the average American dad would pay for 3 kids for one kid.
Yeah, well, because it's based on a percentage of your income, like, up to like 28%, not based on the reality of raising a child. Which most women who get child support, they go and they get their nails done, they buy some clothes, they buy their boyfriend an Xbox or something.
Yeah, but see, that never bothered me. Like when I could pay my total legal obligation, which needs to be changed, and I just haven't done it. I never thought, well, she's probably blowing my money. I used to just think this is somehow, if I'm lucky, going to filter down to my daughter and her quality of life, and that's the idea. So, I was good with that. When I've got the cash, if I could send $500,000, I'd send it. But I'd probably take a chunk of that instead and get involved in some legal action, because that's what it takes. It takes a good sum of money to get moving. And to be honest with you, right now, I got shit, man. I got nothing. So I have to make a very hard decision on, do I want to start living on public assistance until I get my back fixed, or do I want to keep my pride level up and keep living poor? And right now, pride has won. I don't want the judgment of people saying, you're on SSD? Screw you. I got to work 40 and 50 hours a week. That's harsh in America, and I don't want to feel it, but I may not have a choice. I mean, I'm fucked up pretty bad. So, lately my legs have been going numb. We're talking wheelchair type stuff now, and maybe that's what I need. Maybe that's what I need to show people I wasn't fucking around. I don't know.
Right.
What would you do? I know both you guys work normal jobs. What would you do if your back was all fucked up and you could hardly walk?
Well, I could still do my job. I sit in a chair all day and type.
Okay.
I don't know. But Apocales, I believe he works at a senior care center, lifting clean bedpans and lifting up old women. So
that's not true. That's not true.
Yeah.
Yes, but the thing is, I would just take it. If you're disabled, you're disabled. There's really not a whole lot you can do. Work if you can, but you're not abusing the system in any fashion. You're just, you paid into it, and you're just taking out what you've put in. So there's really no problem that I see.
RD in the chat room says, how on earth am I ever going to talk with you, Kevin, if you ruin your voice by doing these 2+ hour shows? He's right. We are coming up to the limits of my voice, which means we need to hire Apocales to find another show for us to all go chat in. Ooh. Can you do it, Apocales? Or are you thinking bed?
But one last point, one last conversation. I thought, shouldn't there be a way for child support to be actually delivered directly to the child? At this point in time, with electronic transfers and payment systems, to have every dollar of child support you provide for a child be tracked and said, hey, this actually was spent on this child, instead of just, let's give them a lump sum, however often you do it, weekly or monthly. Why not just say, hey, this kid needs this much money? Okay, it comes out of the child support amount. And maybe there are some months, believe it or not, where the child doesn't use the full amount. It doesn't cost that much to be a kid. I was a kid. It's like a couple $1,000 a year is what it costs to raise a kid. It should not be 20. I don't know, but men would have to get together and probably advocate for political change. So,
there are some movements going on like that, but they're not that big yet. I used to talk to a guy who ran a men's rights kind of movement, and that's when I was a real fighter. And so much of the fight is dead in me. Barko,
but it's not just a men's right movement, but it's also for the kid. If the kid knew how much money they were getting that was probably being siphoned off for the mom or her boyfriend, the kid would be like, look, if my dad's giving me, let's say you're giving them, I don't know what, you give them $1,000 a month, and the kid's like, hey, guess what? If I only spend $500 of this a month, I should be able to sock away the other $500 instead of having my mom use it to, entertain herself. I would think, but that's just.
Well, the argument is that they're going to use it to pay rent, and they're going to use it to pay electricity, and all those things are going to benefit the kid. But I think you're right. I don't see anything wrong with itemizing a child support obligation to show where it's going. Because so many men are pissed off that their women are using it on their boyfriend, or they're using it on shopping for their own